Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it. So we're here to talk today about a brand new product in Passport's version 1208 sequel called eDocs. And the question I start with is, are we all tired of filing documents only to struggle to find them again later? How many times have you gone to the filing cabinet to grab something you filed and it's not there because maybe somebody else grabbed it out of that folder and never put it back, or maybe we filed it in the wrong folder? Guilty. I've been there, done that. Or what have you. The idea is, right, we tend to, in business, generate a fair amount of paper, and we also tend to collect a fair amount of paper. And some of that paper can be important, or at least the information on that paper can be very important to what we're doing. To be able to organize this stuff in a manner that allows us to file easier and get back at or retrieve the stuff. There is no losing it, right? There's no forgetting to put it back in the file when we're done. Would be wonderful. And this is where PBS eDocs comes into play. It can help you speed up your filing process and help you ensure that anybody can find the documents when they need them. That's kind of the premise behind this whole thing. And it really started out as an in-house thing. We were looking to be able to take all that stuff related to processing an AP invoice, right, vouchering an AP invoice, and to be able to file it without having to file it, and to be able to get back at that information later. So that's kind of how this whole thing got started, and it's begun to expand. It's actually expanded into a couple of different areas. So the question would be, right, why would you want to use PBS eDocs? Well, I've kind of laid out some of those arguments already. The idea here is it's a tool that's going to help you bring documents into Passport and associate them with key accounts payable and accounts receivable records pretty quickly and easily. And it can be done at different points in time, right? So we can scan paper documents in using most scanners, and it can be done at any point during transaction entry or even after the fact. So if I've got some paperwork I want to associate with, say it's an invoice that went off to a customer, build it through OE or build it through AR or even through the manufacturing, customer order processing, you can go into your View AR invoice history and scan in a document, or, as we're going to see, import a digital document quickly and easily. My second point, right, taking a PDF or a Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet and being able to draw these things in and associate them with the documents. Now, here's something that's kind of cool. It's a little technical, but it's kind of cool, is we're literally storing that document inside of a SQL database. We can actually even bring in an email with its attachments and associate it with a record in the system. Retrieving this stuff is really fast. I'll show you how that's done today. And what's cool is it doesn't really even have to be associated with a record in PBS. So right now, as you probably have taken away, it is focused as far as full integration goes in accounts payable and accounts receivable. The plan is to continue to expand that over time out into some of the other modules. Payroll, I think, is a big one we want to move into. Moving into even the order entry modules. We have 3 different order entry modules for different industries. Being able to move into some of those order entry modules so that we can attach documents. So as Robin said earlier, I work with our manufacturing suite. It'd be really nice to be able to take a CAD drawing from a customer and attach it to an order. That's not here yet, but we can still bring documents in and create our own, if you will, file drawers and store information in those that we can get back out and get back at. And I'll show you how that works as well. The whole idea here is we want to help you save time and ensure that you can find all these documents that we're trying to store in filing cabinets in the future. Quick ancillary story. I have a customer, they're in New Hampshire, that sort of did their own document management thing many years ago. They got tired of having these filing cabinets all over the place and never being able to find anything. So what they did was they built a folder structure, and it was an ever-expanding folder structure where they were, taking AP-related stuff and bringing it in and this sort of thing. But it was all done manually, and it was all done outside of the system. This negates the need for that and makes it so that it can be done quickly and easily right from the Passport product. So where is PBS eDocs available? As I mentioned, high level, right? Accounts payable, accounts receivable. In payables, it's available from the vendors entry, right, where we enter and maintain our vendors. It's also available in the payables enter. It's also open in the open items view, as well as the vendor history view vendor invoices. And because I can get at it from the open items view or the view vendor invoices, that's what I mean when I say we can go back on something that's already been processed and scan or load documents and associate them with a particular open item or an invoice that was processed, and I never had an opportunity to get the paperwork attached to it at that point in time. Now in receivables, there's a lot more logical points to attach to. So we've got a lengthier list here, right? It's in customers, it's in the cash receipts enter, invoices enter. If you're using AR billing, you could attach documents to an invoice. Recurring bills, miscellaneous charges, recurring sales, view customer open items, much like AP, view invoices, view invoice history, and view recurring invoices. So there's a lot of points, logical points of entry, if you will, where we can utilize eDocs directly from Passport. So I've used the term, and actually before we got rolling, Robin had mentioned, fully integrated. That's a big deal. Most, I may be talking out of turn here, but I think it's a fair statement. Most accounting systems do not have a fully integrated document management solution. Those that do offer it often are selling a third-party product that isn't really integrated per se. Anything you're doing with it is being done outside of your system. Now, technically, this tool exists within Passport, but it's also an outside product, but it's our outside product. And when I say fully integrated, what you're going to see is we're able to pass data directly to it as I'm, entering or handling a voucher in AP. I can pass data to it. Say, look, I'm looking to scan some documents. Pass the data right over to it so that it's picking up the voucher number, vendor ID, and all this kind of stuff. And then to be able to quickly access that stuff using the search tools and, again, pass the information across to it. So we're able to move data in and out. So the two tools kind of see each other, and that's a very big deal because it helps to automate, and it really opens us up to be able to do some more fun things with it down the road. Just one quick side note, I mentioned this kind of in passing here. PBS eDocs is only available in the Passport Business Solutions SQL version. So if you're running the Vision version and this is of interest to you, make sure you talk to your partner about what it's going to take to move you over to the SQL version, because you're going to need to be on the SQL version in order to use this. And the biggest reason is there's a lot of SQL calls going back and forth. SQL is really just a technical term. It's a database type. And that database type is, actually SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It's a relational database management system, okay, which means it's good at managing data. So SQL allows that integration to occur, and it allows us to store these images inside of that SQL database and so on. So I did want to mention that before we get too far. So how do we use PBS eDocs? You'll see in a couple of minutes I'll do some real live stuff here, but anywhere it's available, in the graphical screens you're going to notice there's an eDocs option on the menu up top. I've got it circled in red here. That's how we get at it. Clicking on it drops down a little menu, which is going to allow us to move out into the eDocs tool and begin to associate records, in this case, with vendor number 12 or First Central Distributors. So it's available right off of the specific tools I had listed for you a couple of slides ago. Again, coming to the fully integrated, right? It's accessible right here. All right, we're going to jump in. We're going to take a look at some live examples, and just to let you know what I'm working with for hardware today, this is the exact scanner I'm working with. It's actually a nice little thing. So it's just a little guy. It's a Brother ADS 1200. I've done some work myself with Epson. I know we've tested a bunch of others, and this one I really like because it's small. It's got a very small footprint, and it seems to work great. So let's go ahead and dig in a little bit and take a look around and see how this thing works. Okay, where to start? Where to start? Well, let's start in accounts payable. As I mentioned, this is available in a bunch of different places. And if I click on eDocs here inside of the vendor, we're going to see there are 4 different tools presented to us. A scanning tool, a searching tool, a bulk processing tool, and a manual entry of parameters. We'll get to that one in a bit. Each of these tools has its own, kind of task in life, right? I can click on search documents. It's going to open up and show me any documents currently associated with, you guessed it, that vendor, First Central Distributors. And I do have one from a while back. I scanned one in when I was doing some testing. And this is a preview of that document. I can do stuff with it, right? From here, I can actually work with it to, say, email it. I could print it, whatever it is I need to do with it. I've got my document available to me. And that's the beauty, the simplicity of it. If I were to go there, I'll go back to the search real quick, and I'm not seeing exactly what I need. I learned this when I came in and did a presentation the last time and kind of clumsily worked myself beyond this. I didn't see something I had brought in manually. Well, that was because I had the auto PBS turned on and the search criteria, and auto PBS is not in my manual document. So we can turn on and off which criteria we want to search. We can also keyword search. So I can come in and say, I got something in there, yeah. I can come in and say, put in CAD up top, and I hit the enter key, or you can click the little buttons and it'll do a search, and it'll find any occurrence of the word CAD anywhere in our document database, which means I can search beyond just searching for this one vendor and find other documents that might have a keyword associated with it that I'm looking for, and pull up the document, and there it is. So what if I wanted to scan something in? Let's use somebody, I don't think I've used this guy at all. Let's take a look at how easy it is to do this. So we're going to actually use the scan feature right now. And we're just going to select off of eDocs, we're going to select Scan in Documents. So now it comes up and it gives me a list of available devices on the left-hand side. So any driver I've got installed on this workstation that could be a scanner is going to appear over here, okay? But you'll want to notice on the right, it's passed along for me the vendor's ID. In this case, it's a document name of Auto PBS. But because it's just a vendor, it's just simply giving us a vendor ID. If we were doing some sort of a transaction, right, processing a voucher, it might grab the voucher number or the order number that was passed over to us. In this case, there is none. We're just coming across from the vendor. So there's my ADS 1200 I had mentioned. Now, there is this neat little function down here. Because it's a two-sided scanner, I can check that box, click Scan, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to scan my document. And just like that, I have both sides of the last time I had to get my tire replaced or fixed for my truck. It's got both sides of that receipt. And that is just a single page, two-sided document. Assuming that's what I was looking for, I'm all good. We click Save. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to save that document for us against vendor number 75. I go hunting for it later. And there it is. We see it was scanned on today's date. We can open it up. And it's a 2-pager. There's page 2. So just like that, I have associated a document with my vendor that I was able to scan in. And in this case, it was a 2-sided document. I was able to do a double-sided scan because my scanner does support that function. So the scanning function is really that simple. Whether I am in a vendor or, as I mentioned, processing a voucher through accounts payable, we can do the similar thing from there. So this isn't an area I work in much. As we mentioned earlier, I am the manufacturing guy. So we're going to fudge one real quick here for vendor 100. Throw a bogus PO number on here. All right. Give an invoice number. We'll say it's $10. And we're all filled in at this point. We're going to click Save. We're going to save, and we're going to exit. Now, what if I had packing list, invoice, original PO, whatever I wanted to associate with this thing? Now, these documents have absolutely nothing to do with this vendor, but I'm going to scan them anyways. Just some test documents I printed off of my system. So now I want to attach my documents to this voucher. So what we're going to do is we're going to do another scan in this case. Now we see a lot more information over here to the right, including our vendor, but also including our voucher ID, right? We have our voucher number, the PO number, the document number, and so on. So we know, I'm actually going to cheat, grab a screenshot so I remember everything I typed. So we have all the data we need, right? So I'm going to go ahead and scan. I got a two-part invoice. It should come in here real quick. I love that little scanner. There's my invoice. It's a two-pager. We're going to click Save, and then OK. So that's attached. When I post this transaction, that attachment, if you will, moves, if you will, to history. It really isn't moving anywhere, but because of its association with the voucher number and the invoice number and the PO number and so on, technically, I can find that document from anywhere that information is available, which means once it hits history, I can get at it from there. Or if I forgot to scan this stuff and posted it, I can go to history, go into the view, and I can actually attach these to it then. So it's really flexible in how that stuff works. But at this point, again, if I were to go in and search my docs, there we go. There's the one we just scanned. It's just a invoice. Total amount, bing, bang, boom, we've got our two-page invoice there associated with our voucher. And so from there, we can run our edit list, and then we can post. I'm actually going to print that to disk. And again, if I were to go now and view my vendor invoices, I can actually, if I find my vendor, I can see that document associated with it. If I go into, let's do this. Let's go into View Open Items, and we're going to go after Vendor 100, and we have. Let's take a quick look at my dates. 11/14, 10/26. We're looking for. Where are you? Did I post it? My apologies. I'm poking around, probably looking for it in the wrong spot. Like I say, I'm the manufacturing guy, not the accounting guy. But let's take and run with this, because if I wanted to attach a document to this, I can. Same concept. So it's already here as an open item. I can scan in a document. We can search for documents associated with a particular vendor or a particular voucher, if there are any. We have the ability to do that. So anywhere that this is available provides us with that similar type of capability. It allows us to go ahead and go after external documents and bring them in. Now there's other ways I can bring information into our system. And that includes, I'm going to skip over bulk processing for a minute. I'm actually going to go to the manual scan, and we'll come back to the bulk processing. We can use our manual entry of parameters to scan in. Now this is more than just scanning. This allows me to, for instance, grab, let's see, I got a folder here somewhere, a Word doc, drag it in. If I want to associate this with something or something outside of the system, I click Initialize Docs, and I tell it what it is I want to associate with, right? What I want to associate it with is Ian's filing cabinet, Robin's filing cabinet. What is that? Those are things I added. So these are modules. I can associate it with a module, a vendor, a customer, even a voucher or a PO number, and so on. Or I can build using the Add New my own little storage areas where I can go ahead and store stuff that has nothing to do with a customer or a vendor. So if I select Ian's filing cabinet, I added that the last time I did a presentation. We can create sub-apps, if you will, or sub-drawers, and that sort of thing in here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it simple. What I'm going to do is tell it that it is, give it a document number. I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to give it a description. We're going to call this in demo 1026. There you go. We're just going to give it a description. Maybe we'll give it a instructions. And we'll click Save. So now if we go into search, we come up here and say in demo, we do a little search, there's our document. So in this case, I did not associate that with anything. Once again, how did I do that? Manual entry of parameters to scan in. So this, unlike the other functions, the scan function and even the bulk action function, this allows me kind of the free-form ability to assign it to something within AR or AP, or to create my own little storage places, if you will, where I can store some things outside of that. So you might ask yourself, right, what might I want to associate with a vendor? Well, maybe we got a contract of some sort with them that I want to associate with that vendor. Same thing with a customer, right? Maybe we have some sort of contractual agreement with them, and I want to stow that so I have access to it in a hurry if I need to get back at it. It could be virtually anything. In this case, I might store a number of different things that could be blueprints, right? It could be, again, it could be anything. I mentioned when we were prepping to get started earlier, for those that came in a little bit later, I'm actually excited to see some of the ideas that you folks, our users, come up with as to how to utilize this in your environment. I really am. I'm really curious and I'm really excited because I'm still new to this too. So it's it's kind of fun. I want to show you another function I can do here with this manual scan thing, right? So I sent myself an email. I'm going to grab it off my other screen here. Just give me one moment. There you go. I'm just going to drag it over here to my desktop. It's just a simple email from myself, just so you can see what it is. Let me pull this over. I sent it from one of my personal accounts that, hey, you know, Ian, blah, blah, blah. There's an attached document. There's a link there, and it's coming from Joe. Yeah, I'm making finger quotes. Just drag it on in. It's got my attachment, and it's got the original link tucked in there as well. Initialize that, and then I can go ahead and say, well, heck, I want to associate that with, let's say, accounts receivable, and I'm going to leave that one alone. We're going to relate that to a customer, and then we're going to relate that to Aerial Enterprises. And we'll say email 10-26. Save it, and just like that, I've now saved that email against my customer and can then find it by coming from that customer or, again, searching through here. So I've actually got a couple of documents with the word email in it. We do have the ability to go out and find this stuff, and there it is. There's the email I just loaded into the system against that customer. So lots and lots of things we can do with this. There's a lot of different file types. Alternative way to get at it is to say, hey, look, I want to go find a PDF, and these are the file types supported currently, but I want to go find a PDF. It'll open it up and let you navigate there. I'm a drag and drop guy, so I would just soon open up the folder and just drag it on here. But we support PDFs, PNGs, JPEGs, messages as in email messages, Excel files, docs, and text files. So we have a number of different files that we can actually draw into the application, be they images, PDFs, and the like. All right, so I am going to, actually, you know what, we're going to move right here. So I mentioned the bulk scanning function. And you'll see I can navigate. I'm not restricted to, once I'm in here, I can navigate from my manual scan to this bulk scanning function, right? I can bounce around. I can move over to the search function or the traditional scan function. In this case, we're going to do a bulk scan. And actually, we're going to drop back for a second here to Passport. Let's initiate that from there. We'll go bulk processing. All right. So I got a stack of things here. Get them together because I snitched a couple off of the list, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a bulk processing. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. One of the things John Miller, he's president of Passport Software, has kind of suggested is you know, if you're in a circumstance where you want to hang on to your paper for a while until you're really comfortable, you want to use this to get stuff in, you can do that. So you could take a stack of documents from a particular vendor for, say, the week or the month or whatever, and just scan them in and throw them in, or maybe take all your invoices or from all your vendors and scan them in and label it, right? Invoices, week of, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But in any event, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a scan of a bunch of documents. It's actually a bunch of invoices. There's 4 or 5 invoices in this, some multi-page. All right, look at that. Don't embarrass the man behind the mirror today. I like it. So there you go. We've got a series of pages that I just scanned in. So I'm just going to click Refresh Docs, and that's going to open up the ability for me to select one or all of these. So I could say, look, I want this and this, and I want to start with those. Okay, it has picked up our vendor's information and stuff down here because I came in from the vendor, so it knows who the vendor is. Well, these are all from the same one. So I have the option now. I'm going to click Select All, and what we're going to do is we're going to click Upload Docs, and it's going to upload it for vendor number 12. And it's going to ask me, do I want to combine them all into one, or do I want them to be individual documents inside of the database? And that's up to you. If I want to combine all of these into one big document and store them all together, go for it. You can do that. If you'd rather them come in individually, you can do that as well. I'm going to say yes, and we're going to load them all up as one big happy document here. So if we come in, and now we're coming off of vendor number 12, so we're going to do our search, and we can kind of pick and choose what we want to go after now. So there is a number of different ways of using this to store information, to get back at information, and so on. Again, during transactions like vouchering vendor invoices, looking at open items and attaching these things, going into a vendor, same concept over here in accounts receivable. Going into the customer, we have access from here. All the same functions work the same way. What I've shown you is how this thing works across the board. The ability to email, the ability to associate records with a particular record or not, right? Do the manual load, kind of build our own file drawers, and give ourselves the ability to go after that information in those file drawers through searches. We have that ability here in accounts receivable, and in a whole bunch of places too. Again, stab at this one, grab that. There we go. It's here in our AR invoicing. It's in the recurring bills. It's in the miscellaneous charges, recurring sales, as I recall, and so on. We have the ability to go into view invoice history, find an invoice, attach some things to it. So if I wanted to go after something that, let's go by date, let's get something new. I've got something like this where I'm like, well, yeah, this is cool, but I also sent some other paperwork along with this. So I want to attach that other paperwork to it. Scan it, add it to it. So if I need to find a copy of that down the road, I can do so. So in this case, we're going to use my double-sided receipt again here to attach this to our invoice. Do a two-sided scan again. There it is. Save it. Now that document's going to be attached to that invoice. It'll live with that invoice. Whether I put it in, if I had invoiced this through AR, if I put it in then, or if I put it in after the fact, I'd still have access to it from here. That gives you a pretty good idea of some of the base capability that's built into eDocs. And you can see now what I mean by the fact that it is fully integrated. That's a big deal. It really is. The ability to move data back and forth here and to access data directly from records inside a Passport. And again, this is in its infancy. I was working with one of our partners in Vermont who actually may be in today's webinar because they were very interested in this, and they have some customers that are very interested in this. And if you're one or two of those customers today, welcome. And we were going through this together. And I'm like, hey, time out. I just want you to understand, I'm still new to this too, because the product's brand new. And they were like, yes, I understand. I want to make sure that I can help my customers really leverage this thing. So I'm trying to understand as much as possible. That's why I keep asking so many questions, which is awesome. Because again, once it gets into your hands, I'm sure you're going to come up with some creative ways to do it, and heck, probably some fun ideas as to some other things that we can do with it. And trust me when I tell you, I've got a bunch tacked in my mind, waiting for my turn to start to integrate this into manufacturing, because I got some fun ideas for it. That said, let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. I think I covered everything I was hoping to today. A few conclusions, right? The whole idea is here to allow you to bring documents into PBS and associate them currently with a key accounts payable and accounts receivable records quickly and easily, and even if we're not associating them with ARAP, the ability to create your own little filing areas that you can actually store documents in, the ability to scan those documents in, import digital documents, even import an email with attachments, as you saw me do, that those documents will follow transaction records through the system, and retrieval of these things is fast and easy. You can keyword search them. You can go at them directly from a vendor or an invoice, that sort of thing. We can even import documents that aren't really associated with a record inside of PBS for storage and retrieval. Whole idea, I want you to save some time, and sure, you can find this stuff down the road. That said, if anybody has any questions, I welcome them. As I say, I'll do my best to answer them. Ooh, excellent question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you yet. I've just been asked. I'd like to get an idea of how much space on our server, on our SQL server, the stored documents will use compared to the space PBS uses already. A couple of things on this. Number one, I won't get too technical, but it is technically its own database within the SQL instance. So anybody who understands how SQL Server is set up, that will make sense to. And it will grow. I did some testing one day, and gosh, I know I wrote it down. I'm not sure where it is. I should actually have this handy for these presentations. Like I say, today's only my second one of these. I want to say a one-page document with graphics and stuff on it was about a meg. Might have been a little less than that. I can't recall, but it was about a megabyte. So extrapolate that out. Will it add up? Of course it will. Again, it will grow. It does not populate. It does not populate directly in the Passport database. As I mentioned, it's a separate database within. So it will have zero impact, which kind of helps with the answer to the question. It has zero impact on Passport itself's performance because it's quote unquote getting too large, that sort of thing. Because it is its own database. It's not. We're not adding these to the actual invoice record inside a Passport. It's actually being stored in its own database with the cross references to order number, customer number, and stuff like that. All right, that's an excellent question. Any other questions? I got a great question. Do I have a ballpark on cost? Yes, I do. In fact, I'll give you a straight up number on it. If you move to version 12.8 SQL, it's part of the product. It'll be part of the product at no charge for our SQL users at 12.8 for the base financials. There will be some premium stuff that we're going to do down the road for some of the other things like manufacturing and so on that will come at a cost. No idea what those are. The product's not even begun. So, but for the stuff I've shown you today, if you upgrade to 12.8 SQL, it's just part of the product. There is no extra cost. I think the only difference in cost is a slight bump in the PUP for your system manager, and it's very slight because we've essentially incorporated that base system into the system manager. So yeah, upgrade to 12. Yeah, thank you. I got excellent answer back. So yeah, that's the beauty of this. We really wanted to be able to provide a nice basic tool for you folks. We wanted to see high adoption. And we really have some big plans for it in some other areas as well, and that's where we're going to get into some of the premium stuff. But we thought it would be great to be able to incorporate this into our base product so that you folks can actually get this tool and really start using it. Any other questions? Oh, by the way, another one I always throw out in our SQL webinars. If you're not already a SQL user and you want to check it out, we'll probably have one next month. We generally do one once a month. Keep your eyes open for that. Come on in. Peter and I do that together. We have a lot of fun with that. Folks, have a wonderful afternoon. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today.